I'll call, testing, I'll call the study session, the Newport Beach City Council for March 24th, 2009 to order. May we have the roll call, please? Okay, first item on our agenda is clarification of items on the consent calendar. Councilwoman Daigle.
Yes, on item 6, where it's to transfer some funds for upkeep of some of our Lidos and Sabbats for our sailing program, and in an effort to understand community need, and I know that we have some nonprofits and so on providing sailing programs, OCC, BYC as a summer program, Sea Scouts. Have we recently done a needs assessment in terms of community needs for sailing?
I'm going to ask Laura if she can answer that, because I can't. You're right. There are lots of groups in town that provide sailing activities and lessons, and how do we arrive at what the needs of the community are, Laura, I think is the question.
Good afternoon. I'm being told that, no, we've not done any needs assessment lately.
How many people do we have that participate in our sailing program?
Well, we run contractual classes throughout the year and run a couple of beginning and intermediate sailing classes. And then during the summer months, we do some sailing camps as well. I don't have particular numbers on attendance, but enough to keep those classes going on an annual basis.
And that would be like maybe 5 or 10 per class, or what?
Let me ask Matt Laura to come up. He might have some numbers for you.
During the summer months, we have about 400 participants, and during the school year, we have 200 or 300 participants in our sailing program. Hopefully, it'll increase with Marina Park coming online eventually.
Okay. So if you were to expand the participants, and then they would come from yacht clubs and Sea Scouts, or how would you get those participants?
Definitely. I think at Marina Park, for the growth, if that did happen, we'd look at residents, that we'd have a larger facility that our boats would be permanently at. Right now, they're stationed on the beach, but we'd pull from our residents and from the colleges and the youth in the community.
So would we be complementing those efforts or competing against them?
I think we'd be complementing them because a lot of OCC does offer programs, but we do a lot of youth camps during the summer.
Okay.
Our camps are very popular. They're one of the largest in Southern California.
Okay, thank you.
Councilwoman Gardner.
No, none.
Councilman Webb.
I have none.
Councilman Henn.
Yes, on item number 12, there was a statement in there. This has to do with the update on the city's budget and whatnot. There was a statement in there that we would have an early update on the sales tax payment on March the 20th. Did I read that correctly?
And Dennis, we wouldn't get the money, but we would get notice, and Dennis just told me today that that amount is going to be a little bit more than we anticipated. Not a lot, but it's a little bit more, and it's one of those cleanup months for the quarter, right. So it's good news.
Yeah, I'm a little leery of cleanup months, you know. So anyway, so he'll be able to update us at the session tonight.
Yes, he will.
Yeah, thanks.
Councilor Rosansky.
None, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Curry.
No items?
Okay, and I have no items. So our first regular item then is the Orange County Marathon update.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, we have 2 items on the study session today, but the TIDEPOOL program update is one that it doesn't need to be given today, so I've asked for that item to be given at another time. And the reason I wanted to put the Orange County Marathon update on the agenda is because we are coming up close to the race, and notices will be going out to the people if they haven't already. So I wanted to get staff and the providers of the event to come before council and just talk about road closures and the timing of when they're going to happen, when they'll be opened up, what the overtime situation is going to be, what safety measures we have put into place. And as far as I know, all of the issues really have been worked out between staff and the OC Marathon folks. So I think we've developed a real good relationship. So this isn't an I got you presentation. It's really nothing more than just kind of an educational presentation prior to the event taking place as to what will happen and how it's being sequenced. So Laura is going to start us off.
Thank you, Homer. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. The OC Marathon is scheduled for Sunday, May the 3rd. It'll be kicking off at 6:30 a.m. in the morning, bright and early. And as Homer alluded to, our goal this afternoon is to illustrate the course itself for you, talk about timing for opening and closing of streets, also share with you the city resources that are necessary to provide support to the event, which will be extensive and will heavily rely on volunteers to assist with that. We're also going to provide you with some information related to the public notification plan, which is also very extensive, and address any questions and concerns that you may have. And I think it's important to point out that the course has had some significant changes to it in terms of the route this year, which has created some challenges from a safety standpoint and an impact standpoint. Anytime you're working with an event of this caliber, safety is always our first priority. We want to minimize the impact to the community and keep them as well informed as possible prior to the event and leading up to it. I have to say that the staff that have worked on this have been very diligent in coming up with solutions to these challenges, and I certainly want to take this opportunity to thank the Police Department, the Public Works Department, Recreation and Senior Services, and also Fire for being so dedicated to coming up with some really sound solutions to some of the challenges in terms of street closures that are going to be created, and you're going to be able to see the route here pretty quickly. So in terms of our presentation format, the OC Marathon representatives are going to show you the race course, followed by Sergeant Tom Fischbacher, who will share with you staff resources, street closure, area of concerns, as well as the parking restrictions. And then we also have staff from the Fire Department and Public Works Department here in the audience that can help answer any questions that you may have. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Scott Baugh, who is the chairman of the board for the OC Marathon.
Thank you very much. Good to be here, Mr. Mayor, honorable members of the council. I've read a lot about what goes on here, but I've never actually appeared here, so it's really an honor to be here with you tonight. This is your 5th year as a partner with the Orange County Marathon, and it's our most exciting year. The first several years, you guys helped us cobble the course together, but we left Newport pretty quickly. And then, of course, Councilmember Hinn noted he ran that marathon once, and on the backside of Portola is not very pretty. And it's a difficult race. It's a 400-foot incline. So we listened to our race participants, our clients. They said, we don't like that course. You have an Orange County Marathon. We want to see the ocean, and we want a flatter, faster course. And so we listened to them, and we set about to craft a new course, and we've done that. And I just want to particularly thank the council members and Nancy Gardner, who helped us in Corona Del Mar, because the crown jewel of this course is Corona Del Mar and the ocean there. And we should have hopefully 10,000 runners coming down through there. The good news is it's early, and they'll get out of there quickly. But we now have an exciting course. Our registrations are dramatically ahead of schedule. I don't want to jinx us, so I'm not going to tell you the number, but whereas we had declining enrollment for the last 3 years because of the difficulty of the course, we now have enthusiasm in this county. Our race participants, our runners in the half marathon, the full marathon, they're very excited about this course. And I just want to thank each and every one of you for accommodating us, and also Sergeant Fischbacher and Chief Lewis, who came up with some very creative ideas, always noting that safety was paramount, but having an attitude of being able to solve the problems and challenges that we had. There's some slides here. You have a handout. Feel free to read them. I won't go through them simply because you guys all read really well, but this is a great nonprofit course. It's designed, or nonprofit organization that's designed to help children's charities with a focus on health. And I just wanted to thank you for your assistance in allowing this thing to not only be born, but to thrive in its 5th year. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Council, the course has been changed so much we don't touch any of the previous course at all. We are still starting at Fashion Island. The runners will all be bussed over from the fairgrounds where they'll be parking, starting at 4 o'clock in the morning and being bussed over, and being dropped off right at Fashion Island, and starting to queue up down on Newport Center Drive, up back towards the circle up there, and they'll be starting at Farallon as the starting line. They'll take off at 6:30 and proceed down to Coast Highway, head east towards Corona Del Mar.
Could
And,
you give us your name, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, Gary Kutcher.
Thank you.
They'll head down Coast Highway to where they receive, they'll turn right on Narcissus, crest the little hill there, and finally, for the first time, see the ocean as part of the marathon. Going to be a lot of excitement there. They'll turn right on Ocean Boulevard. I think some of the best ocean views of any marathon in California. They'll run Ocean Boulevard till they get to Goldenrod, turn right on Goldenrod, and up to the 2-mile mark, which is exactly at Goldenrod and Seaview. By that point, it will be 7:15 at the very latest for those participants at that point right there. They'll run on Seaview until they get to Marguerite up to Bayside, and then they'll have a nice downhill stretch to Coast Highway. They'll cross the Jamboree Bridge to Balboa Island, and we'll have that open at 7:45 a.m. The runners will get onto Coast Highway off of Bayside, and they'll do they'll head west on Coast Highway until they get to the bicycle trail and do a complete loop underneath the bridge on the bike trail, come up on the other side, and then run back towards North Bayside Drive. We just worked out some great ideas for keeping the safety for those runners there. The runners will then go through Bayside Village on the bicycle trail, then behind the dunes, and finally make their way to the Back Bay. And they'll be on the Back Bay road for about 3.5 miles. They'll be greeted by a steep little hill coming out of there at East Bluff. And after that, it's a short little run on Jamboree back into Upper Newport Back Bay for the trails again, and they'll come out on University. Once they're out on University, they'll go up to Santa Ana. They'll cross Irvine Avenue, and they'll come up to Santa Ana and turn right. At that point, it's where the half marathoners and the marathoners will split. The half marathoners will turn left and go right into the fairgrounds and be finished. The marathoners stay on Santa Ana. That becomes Red Hill, and we'll run up Red Hill up to Main Street, over to the Arts District, run through the Performing Arts Center, over the footbridge, over Bristol, around the north side of South Coast Plaza, and then they'll find their way up on Bear Street, up to Segerstrom, over to the Santa Ana River Trail, and they'll be heading back down again to Fairview Park in Costa Mesa, where they'll just meander back across the bird streets, they call them, crossing Harbor on Merrimack, and follow back into the fairgrounds. So it's just going to be an exciting event, and we can't thank you enough for all you guys' assistance for doing that. Thank you.
My name is Bob Seeger, and I'm the CEO of International City Racing. We are the management company that the OC Marathon hired to put on this event this year. I just wanted to inform you that we're a very experienced management company. We've been in this business over 10 years. We own and operate the Long Beach Marathon. We manage the Dana Point Turkey Trot, and we also just managed the Pasadena Marathon this past weekend. So we've been doing this for a while. We know that a great race course is very important. Certainly safety and having it well organized is paramount when you bring so many people together and cover 26.2 miles of city streets. You've got to have all cylinders working. We have 2 assigned race directors for this event. The Newport section alone will have 3 section commanders. A section commander is responsible for 1 or 2 water stations within his section. He or she patrols it constantly to make sure everything is safe, no barricades or cones have been moved, and that the course is safe. In the Newport section, we'll have 8 water stations. Those water stations will be comprised of 16 captains and co-captains, and each water station will have between 25 and 50 volunteers providing water and other safety factors for the runners, helping direct them on that section of the course. We will have 2 medical aid stations in the Newport section of the course. Those will be staffed with EMT technicians as well as 2 ambulances per station. We have a great deal of course support where we'll utilize volunteers out on the course, maintaining the integrity of certain driveways, alleyways, to make sure that no cars enter the race course. Also employ about 800 volunteers throughout the race course on race day. And we'll provide a lead and a sweeper vehicle to assist any down runners that just decide I'm too tired and don't want to continue. In regards to our medical plan, Newport Beach Fire Department will be the lead agency while runners are in Newport, so everything would be deferred to them for any assistance or call of any transport that might be necessary. The medical aid stations, 2 that will be located. One will be at 5.5 miles on the North Bayside Drive at East Coast Highway, and the other at approximately mile 10 in Back Bay Drive in East Bluff. And then, of course, we have our vehicles. We have a sweeper vehicle that can assist runners. Most runners, when they decide to give up, they stop at a water station and say, I've had enough, and we provide a sweeper vehicle then to transport those runners back to the finish line. So, thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Peggy Fort, and it's been my pleasure to work with the Orange County Marathon since its inception. The opportunity to do the public and community relations now for the 5th year is what I'm here to talk about, our community outreach campaign and how we've been working with Laura's staff and leadership. I want to just take another chance to thank them and their dedication and the city's commitment to make this a successful transition. As we all realize that this course will have a significant impact on the residents of our city, but we're hoping that through this first year we can get through it relatively smoothly and continue to develop a very great citywide and community-wide event. To start, as you see, the map does have an impact zone for the course. And what we've done so far, as we work with resident and business notification by sending out 15,500 mailing pieces, which will go out the week of March 23rd this week, and the week of April 20th, about, I think 2 weeks before the event. Corona Del Mar residents directly impacted will also get a hand-delivered door hanger on April 30th. And we've conducted in-person meetings with the Corona Del Mar Chamber of Commerce, various businesses along the course, community organizations around the course, and we're trying to do our best to be sensitive to their issues and to work with them in a partnership capacity to continue to develop our relationship with them. Part of that is church and congregation notification, obviously on Balboa Island, working with St. John Vianney, as well as all of the other churches along the course. We're working to get signed letters that they have gotten information and that they are aware and they accept the fact that the course will be coming through. School notification, all of the Newport Beach schools have been emailed requests for volunteers for the event, as well as many of them are participating through our children's kids training program, which is a big part of the mission of the marathon as well. Community group and organization notification. We are sending out a mass email to past participants with all of the zip codes affected by the race, as well as mailing notifications to about 170 of the groups on the community organizations report that's listed on the city's website. In addition to that, we'll be contacting all of the ones that are impacted on the race zone as well with personal phone calls, encouraging them to include the information in their newsletters, have us attend some of their meeting if it's appropriate and something that they're interested in. Again, key personal meetings with individuals from the Irvine Company for Fashion Island have been going on, Corona Del Mar Plaza, Bayside Center. We did a presentation to the Residents Association in Corona Del Mar, Bayside Village, the Chamber of Commerce in Corona Del Mar, the Balboa Yacht Club, the BCYC, and the Marine Avenue Business Improvement District has been contacted, along with the Homeowners Association on the island as well. For example, when we talk about newsletter information, we're going to be doing an insert in the Balboa Beacon, which kind of hits the Balboa Island and Balboa Peninsula impact zone, as well as a Corona Del Mar newsletter, chamber newsletter, working with them on their website inclusion as well. The media campaign is exciting this year. We have a really exciting partnership that's come together with the LA Times. and the Daily Pilot and Huntington Beach Independent and Laguna Beach Coastline. In addition to our print ad campaign, which is going to be launched here next week, they will be publishing and inserting our runner and spectator guide, which will include all of the road closure information in the newspaper. So on April 22nd, it will be in the Daily Pilot. The 23rd, it will be in the Laguna Beach Coastline, and the 24th in Huntington Beach. Distribution of that is $70,000. So in addition to that, we're just reaching out, trying to get information on our websites, working with the city to hopefully post information on your site as well as Costa Mesa, and any opportunity to work with the Public Information's Office and to work in a partnership to get this information out to our residents regarding the impact of the course is, I think, our mutual goal. So again, we want to thank you for your partnership, and hope that this is the first year to many successful opportunities to showcase our beautiful city through the Orange County Marathon. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Honorable Council. My name is Tom Fischbacher. I'm the Special Events Sergeant with the Police Department. I've been asked to share with you a little bit about our staffing, the cost, some of the road closures and openings, thank you, and the no parking zones that we're going to be addressing in this event. Just to give you an idea, we began planning this event back in the summertime. Come January, we really kicked it into high gear. And this is our general deployment that we're planning for at this time. You can see, and I imagine you have the handout in front of you as well, we are looking for a total of 61 officers that will be assigned to this event, 61 explorers, 83 race volunteers, a host of fire department traffic engineer and race representatives. The park control officers will also be participating in the event. We're going to go to the Irvine Police Department and ask them for 14 officers to assist us. We already have an existing relationship with them for the 4th of July deployment. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Tom, I do have one question. Seeing dispatchers, there are 3. Are we actually putting any more dispatchers, on duty for this event than would normally be on for Sunday morning?
Yes. Okay. We're committing a race frequency to be able to coordinate the regions of the race, and then we're going to be using a dispatcher to do that radio frequency, as well as adding 2 additional call takers. We expect a higher volume of calls in relation to the race. We basically broke down the race course into 6 separate regions. We're going to try to handle each region as a small race on itself. We will be providing regional supervisors, thus the reason for the sergeants that will supervise each region. A motor officer will be assigned to each region as an officer in charge who will help that regional supervisor coordinate the resources in the region. Those will include officers, explorers, and race volunteers, and including some of our volunteers as well. The fire department's additional staffing is listed at the bottom as well. I just want to give you a quick oversight of some of the regional maps that we've developed, and gives you an idea of the scope and breadth of some of the positions that we're required to staff in regard to this. It might be easier to see on some of your handouts in front of you, but each number represents a position, a location, a traffic control point. If you can see it, the blue dots obviously represent officers, the red dots explorers, and the yellow dots race volunteers. And again, Region 1 is represented from Fashion Island to Narcissus. Region 2 in the Corona Del Mar area basically goes from Narcissus and the highway to about Fernleaf and Bayside. Region 3 is a stretch of Bayside from Fernleaf to the Balboa Island entrance. One thing of note, on Balboa Island, we're actually going to be staffing 3 officers during the closure, 1 to maintain the road closure, and 2 to address any calls for service that might occur during that time. Region 4, from the Balboa Island entrance all the way to the Dunes entrance. Region 5, I consider the easy region, is the Back Bay area, all the way up to Bayview and Jamboree. From the Dunes entrance along Back Bay to East Bluff, and then again to Bay View. The entire course is on the bike path. Doesn't impact any city roads except the Back Bay during that time. And then finally, for us, Region 6 is from Bayview and Jamboree to Irvine and University. And that, again, the entire portion of the course is on the bike path that runs along there. Small section of University to Santa Ana that's covered by the county, and then Costa Mesa begins to take it over. Some of our newer incorporated area up there will be monitored, but the course will be on the other side of the roadway, so it won't be a factor for us per se. This is an excerpt from the marathon mailer that's going out to the residents in the impacted area, and it addresses the various roads that are impacted as well as the times the roads will be closed from. Some of these times are still subject to change as we're still planning this. The asterisk represents something I want to make sure that you all understand is that these road closures are estimations. We'd like to try to stick as close as possible to them, but there are a lot of factors that may impact those roads opening. The one road that is crucial for us to be open is the Balboa Island entrance on Jamboree, and that, with agreement with the race course organizers and us, is about 7:45. So that will be closed from approximately 6:30 to 7:45. Gives a little more detail on the closures. As you can imagine, the no parking zones are pretty substantial, especially in the Corona Del Mar area. Some of the streets are narrow enough that it requires the removal of vehicles so that the runners can proceed through there.
Has there been any effort to arrange lots that might be available for residents to park in, businesses that aren't open in the evening or something? I mean, I would think that that would be the marathon's role, but we have a lot of on-street parking in those areas, and that's a lot of cars to find a place besides their garage, which have other stuff in them and they can't park there. So.
All of which are empty, but they could park in.
What we typically do on a normal race is we begin parking control or enforcement the morning of the race. This course is so substantial that we're actually going to have the no parking time extended. It's going to begin on May 2nd at 10 o'clock at night. And our parking control officers are actually going to work overnight to try to address that issue. Our last thing we want to do is actually tow a resident's vehicle, but with that large window, we'll have the opportunity, hopefully, to try to contact and remind people of the no parking zones with the last resort of towing a car.
I'm just thinking there's the parking lot next to Gallows, the dirt lot behind the dental thing on the other side of the street across from Five Crowns. I mean, there are a number of areas that if the landlord was contacted, they might agree because they're going to be out of there so early in the morning. I can give you some names if you want to contact me.
And Tom, is everybody who's a resident borders on the route, are they going to be contacted so they would be notified about the parking restrictions?
And that's part of the race notification that's going to be distributed at 10 weeks? 10 weeks in 6 weeks and 10 days. That'll be a big part of it as well. And then we begin the no parking posting 72 hours prior to the event. Do you have a question? As was stated before, the race starts at 6:30. We plan on having all of our officers in position by 5:30. The majority, if not all, the roads will close at 6 a.m., short of the Balboa Island access point. That we plan on closing right at about the start of the race to allow for access there as soon as possible. We're looking to open up the highway, or open the highway, somewhere around 7:10 and be out of town by 10 a.m. Just, if you haven't already noticed, we just wanted to show you some of the significantly isolated areas here. And one of the plans that we're trying to develop is that this area really has no other alternate exit point except the opening of the course. So what we're going to be providing our officers that work in this area with a flyer similar to this that's going to have some designated emergency exit points that they're going to have to judge each individual resident's need to leave the area if they haven't already made plans to do that. They'll provide them with this flyer, give them directions on how to get to these points, and the contact with the officer at that point. Depending on the race traffic nature of the emergency, we'll make every effort to get them across the course and out of the area. The detour area that we have here that's marked in green is also a substantially impacted area, but the good news here is that we actually have avenues that people can get out of that area. This is, again, something similar to the flyer that we're going to be providing to our officers that are working in this area, that they can provide directions to people that need to leave the area. With the main area that they can exit is through Irvine Terrace. As long as they can get to El Paseo and Malabar, Seadrift area, they can get out of that area, which is helpful. Obviously, Balboa Island is substantially impacted by this, hopefully by limiting the time that it's closed, as well as providing ferry service in the morning. The access will be appropriate.
What happens on Balboa Island if there's a medical emergency in that hour and 15-minute window?
The fire department they have their station on the island. They are also, I believe, Ron, if I'm correct, they're planning on staging a medic truck down there as well.
So will they be able to break through to the course, or they have to take the ferry they have to take someone to the
No,
hospital?
if there's a medical emergency, if there's any need for the fire department, all bets are off. They have full access to the course. Another isolated area here is the Dunes area, Bayside Deanza Village, Linda Isle, Harborough. And this area, not very many detour options, or actually none. It's simply roads will be opening, which will allow access. And that's it. If you have any other questions, I'm more than willing to try to answer them for you.
Okay, I don't see any, so thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to give Tom a lot of credit, because I think when we were first approached about a change in course, he was thinking, why did I get so lucky? I got special events, and now all of a sudden they're doing a marathon that's going to go through Corona del Mar. So it was, I think, a real growth process for a lot of us, but Tom really stuck with it, and I think has worked out something that hopefully will be a good model for the runs to come.
I think Tom needed a challenge. Is that any other remarks?
Laura, do you want to wrap things up for us?
That does conclude our presentation. We're going to continue to work with the OC Marathon right up to the date to make sure that our residents are well informed, and we've got all the safety issues covered. And again, I just want to thank the project team for all their work to date. They've truly been working on this for about 6 months now, and just a great group of professionals that have come up with solutions. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any public comments on?
Before we start public comment.
Go ahead.
We did meet early on and with the chamber, and also I went to the Residents Association to see how they felt. And the general feeling was that because we're going to be in and out of Corona del Mar so fast that in some ways it didn't impact as much as the Corona del Mar 5K. And it was also my understanding from the experts, the people who put on this race, that we shouldn't be cannibalizing in terms of runners from the Corona del Mar 5K, which of course is a very long-standing and important tradition in Corona del Mar, that the different kind of runners tend to run. My only other concern, and I understand that you're working with them to avoid this, is that we also not cannibalize in terms of sponsors, because that's a major fundraiser for their chambers. So I hope you'll be very sensitive to that and work together with them and help them in any way you can as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, public comments. Step forward, state your name, please.
My name is Jim DeGredo. Mr. Mayor, City Council, I am the chairman of the Corona del Mar 5K. Been the chairman for about 9 years, either co-chaired it or chaired it. And the impact of this race on our 5K is a little bit more than what I think most people know. First of all, being the chairman of this race, I was never notified that the change in the course is going to go through Corona del Mar. And our concern with that is this. Number one, the date of the race. the date of the race is 1 month before our 5K, and they have diluted some of our sponsors already. And if they continue running the race the same date, the same weekend, they will continue diluting our sponsors. So hopefully next year you consider us and possibly move the race back to when it was, or a couple of months after ours. And the race course. The tradition of the race is that the Scenic 5K goes through Corona Del Mar. We now have to explain to those 300 or 400 residents that are going to be impacted why they're going to be impacted twice within a month. This race going through Corona Del Mar is not going to benefit the business owners at all because it is going through awful early. And when we go back and have our race 1 month later, we know we're going to get a lot of complaints. So what they don't tell you, you're only going to be on Ocean Boulevard for 4/10 of a mile. Okay, you're going to see the ocean for 2 minutes, 2 minutes of an hour-and-a-half race. That's it. They're going to be on Ocean Boulevard for 2 minutes. So we would really like you to consider next year and changing that course and keeping it out of the residential areas of Corona Del Mar and preserve the Corona Del Mar 5K. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Let's hear from anyone else. Scott first. Okay, anyone else want to speak? Okay, seeing no one. Scott, if you had something you want to say.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple items of response. On the issue of sponsors, Avia came to us a couple years ago before we even looked at Corona Del Mar, and I understand they used to have some sponsorship down here. So that was an arrangement that was done well before this happened. Moreover, we can absolutely commit to you that we will not seek nor accept sponsorships from folks that are already with Corona Del Mar. I mean, that's not our intent whatsoever. And so with respect to the date and the closeness of it, we came, the date originated in December, but because of issues related to Christmas shopping, we had to move it to January, and we got a lot of complaints there. The only date that actually worked for the Orange County Marathon and the city, because of other events that were happening, was May 3rd. So it wasn't a date picked to do anything else other than try to find a date that worked. Moreover, we're willing to share our databases on the 5K because we don't run a 5K through Corona Del Mar whatsoever. We just have half marathoners and full marathoners. So we want to extend whatever courtesies we need to do to help them make their race successful as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilman Curry.
Scott or somebody from the committee, is there a sense as to which charitable organizations are going to be the beneficiaries of this year's race, particularly those that might be located in Newport Beach?
I have the list of our charities is on our website, and they rotate in and out from year to year. We certainly want to help charities in the cities that accommodate us. So those that want to come forward and seek our support, we'll be glad to evaluate those. We've written checks for over $500,000, and those charities have generated over $1 million themselves from the use of the marathon. So you just forward those charities to us, and we'll be glad to process them because this whole course or this whole organization was designed to benefit charities. Nobody here makes money on it. Nobody on our board. Of course, we have to hire staff, but it's all about charities and the children. And that's the other important point about the 1K we do. I don't know if you caught that in the materials, but with the focus on obesity in this country, we have a children's run, and they run 25 miles during several weeks before the race, a mile a week. And then on race day over at the fairgrounds, they run the final mile, I guess mile .2, right, to do a full marathon over a 26-week period. So that's our focus there. It's all about the charities and the children, and if you have ideas for us, we'd be glad to accommodate them.
Okay, Councilman Gardner.
Yeah, I want to apologize to the race because the meeting I was at, there were several members from the chamber board there, and what do we say? We assume. I assumed the message was there and that the communication was there, so I do apologize because I think we could have avoided some of this if we'd had that meeting earlier and you'd been there. So next year, for sure, we'll work on these to see if we can make it better.
I just have a question. I don't know who should answer this, but I'd like to know what homeowners associations on Balboa Island were notified, when, and how.
We are sending an email electronically with the pamphlet that you've all received in your kit to all of them that are on the list that we were provided from the city. So basically, the information that we got was from the city. In addition to that, they are in the impact zone, so they would be getting the secondary mailer as well. And in addition to that, just reaching out to both the Balboa Island Homeowner and Business Association as well as the Marine Avenue BID to try to be sensitive to any questions or concerns that they have.
Okay, so you haven't met with anyone yet then out there?
We've attempted to, contacted both of them to go to their meetings.
Well, there's two
and they haven't-
homeowners associations. There's the Balboa Island Improvement Association and the Little Balboa Island Association. So,
Right.
yeah, you need to be sure you contact them as well as send the mailers out. Because I
Yeah.
know I'm going to get calls from people that say they've never heard of this.
Yeah.
I'll be sitting by my phone on that morning.
Yeah, they were on our list, Ed, that just went out. And then they're obviously in the mailer that was just delivered, and it should be hitting in the next week or so with regard to the pamphlet that you have in your packet.
Okay, and there's a little message board on the bridge going over too, and you might want to work with them on getting that message on there that it's going to be closed well in advance, because everyone
Yeah.
reads that when they go on and off the island.
Yeah, I'll talk to Sherry about that, too.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, we had public comments on that, so now we'll take public comments on items not on the agenda. We have, what do we do with the typos? We continued that, or taking it off calendar, or what?
We're just taking it off calendar. We'll come back another time.
Okay, so the TIDEPOOL program update is going to come back at another time, so we'll now take public comments on non-agenda items.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. My name is Karen Tringali, and I live in Corona Del Mar. I wanted to take a few minutes this afternoon and talk with you about our city's existing Emergency Operations Center, our EOC, and its potential as part of the new City Hall design. Over the last couple of years, the city has allocated a number of resources and funding to develop our emergency management plan. This plan defines, among other things, our Emergency Operations Center, which is the site for city's strategic officials to gather and make decisions that directly impact the lives and property of Newport Beach residents in a state of an emergency or disaster. These strategic decision makers should not be confused with our first responder groups. They are not our firefighters, our police officers, or paramedics. The city's EOC organization, which is consistent with FEMA guidelines, is staffed by a number of folks, among whom are our city manager, our city attorney, public information officer, safety officer, and decision makers from a variety of departments, including finance, vital records, engineering, public health, and others. Many cities utilize space in their city halls for this very reason. When Newport Beach adopted its emergency management plan back around 2004, it was determined at that time that this facility, our existing city hall, was inappropriate to house its EOC for a variety of reasons, none the least of which is we have a single road for ingress and egress. The city hall sits in a liquefaction zone and also a floodplain. It was therefore decided to locate our EOC at the police station and to use one of its conference rooms on an as-needed basis. This past November, Newport Beach participated in California's Great Shakeout Drill, which required us to staff and utilize our EOC as designed within our emergency management plan. Because our EOC is not in the same facility as the people who staff it, those folks, our city manager, city attorney, and support staff, were required to get in their cars and drive to the police station. And once they got there, they had to take our EOC in a box, sort of unpack it and get the room staged so that they could start their decision-making process. Precious time is lost both in the transportation of personnel and in setting up that room to begin to make the decisions necessary. And that precious time in a real emergency could easily translate into lost lives and property. Councilman Henn, among others, participated in the Great Shakeout Drill and elevated concerns about his experience at a November City Council meeting, which I attended back in November. The council subsequently discussed this topic.
I'll give you a couple more minutes.
Thank you.
Wrap it up.
The council subsequently discussed this topic at their January priority meeting, and it was decided that we would hold the EOC at the police station and wait to formalize a location when, in the future, a new police station is approved and constructed. Given what we know about the City Hall timeline process, we believe that's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 5 to 10 years down the road. And by delaying that decision, we're putting ourselves at risk for encountering some sort of disaster or an emergency situation in that interim time frame. As residents of Newport Beach, we're concerned that this may be a decision that is short-sighted, particularly in light of the very significant opportunity we have before us today as we plan our new City Hall. We believe that it would be appropriate to call for a study session so that we're able to fully vet this concept with the public and then make an informed decision about the benefits and costs of addressing this now as part of the City Hall process, rather than putting it off for some later date. These are not questions or issues that any one of us would want to address in the aftermath of an emergency or a disaster. We believe that the existing conceptual design for the City Hall lends itself quite well to staging an EOC there, and it could be designed, for example, to coexist in the basement along with our technology equipment. It could be designed to coexist with a conference room in any one of the single pods. Our City Hall Design Committee architects in Boland and Zawinski have much experience with public and commercial projects and are well aware of design needs that are necessary for covering emergency and disaster situations. They have both the expertise and the know-how to interpret emergency management plans and then to develop creative and workable concepts and designs. We ask that you support our request for a study session so that the EOC benefits and costs could be addressed now as part of the City Hall vetting, design vetting process. It really isn't just a matter of best practice. It's a matter of properly prioritizing the needs and welfare of Newport Beach and its citizens. Thank you. Appreciate the extra time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other public comments?
Mr. Mayor and Honorable Council, my name is Gary Standard. I'm a resident of Corona Del Mar. I just have a few more facts to present to the Council in consideration of a study group to support a permanent EOC in the new City Hall. One of the issues now is the time it takes to set up an EOC. In effect, the EOC are in plastic bins locked behind cabinets in the police department. So until those bins are unpacked and set up, we really don't have a functional EOC. It's going to take at least an hour. Drills have proven it takes at least an hour once personnel arrive to set it up for that to be functional. So even though our tactical folks, the police department, the fire department, paramedics, are doing their windshield surveys in a major disaster and responding, we do not have a strategic disaster management function happening. And in times like that, time is very crucial. Other cities in Orange County and agencies that have permanent EOCs include Huntington Beach, Irvine, Anaheim, Dana Point, Costa Mesa, San Clemente, Santa Ana, Placentia, the County of Orange, Coast Community College District, John Wayne Airport, and UCI. Also, although all 911 calls go to police dispatch, paramedic and fire calls are rerouted to the county's Metronet Dispatch Center. So there's no benefit for the physicality of an EOC at the police department. Fire dispatch for Newport Beach and 6 Orange County cities is handled by a group called Metronet. It's not handled by the PD, even though the initial calls go into the PD. In an event of a county-wide or multi-county disaster, such as an earthquake, Newport Beach would probably have their fire dispatch break away from Metronet and be self-sufficient anyway. I also understand that we have a new traffic management system that will be located in the new City Hall, and that should be within very close proximity to an EOC, not at the PD. Also, because our virtual EOC at the PD presently is in the police auditorium, scheduling training and drills becomes very difficult just to get room time in there. Additionally, a dedicated EOC could be shared as a meeting facility with for other city departments within City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
Hi, Honorable Council and Mr. Mayor. I'm Jim Robertson. I'm a resident of Newport Beach. I just want to add my voice to those you've already heard, which have been very, very well thought out comments about the value of having an EOC from a management standpoint. But I also just want to add the observation that I think this decision is so important to the management of the city in a disaster that it is one of the major areas for which this council will be remembered for its wisdom and foresight, or for its lack of wisdom or foresight. And I want you to keep that in mind as you go forward with the planning process. That in an emergency is how you'll be judged on whether you've done an adequate job of protecting the city, not just that things went along as business as usual when there were no problems to deal with. It's how we deal with problems that we find out what we're made of. And this is a very important decision for the future of the city, and I would appreciate your consideration and study of the issue before rejecting the idea of having an EOC in the new City Hall. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
I wasn't here to come and speak about this, but I'm a retired captain from LA City Fire Department. I worked in the Los Angeles City EOC 4 different occasions during emergencies in the city of LA. And having the EOC underneath City Hall works spectacular when you have every city department set up with their computers and ready to go to work, the people that have been trained. It makes a huge difference at an emergency. I was down there during the earthquake, and it worked really slick. So if you were not considering putting the EOC at City Hall, well, everybody is that, please do consider it.
Could you state your name, please, again?
Sorry. Jim DeGrado.
Council members and Mayor, my name is David Brandmeier, a resident and a business owner in Newport Beach, and they've said it all. I had a chance to actually work at the EOC during the emergency when Councilman Henn was there, and there were obvious issues with the fact that being a temporary situation does not facilitate immediate response. I participated in 3 other EOC events, and I can say that it's going to be critically important that we're prepared for doing that. So I think a study would be great for this, and your consideration would be greatly appreciated when the event occurs. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else?
Good afternoon. I'm Nancy Moran Sanchez, a resident of Newport Beach, live on Narcissus Avenue. Look forward to having the parade down at the marathon run by the house. I've also joined the Community Emergency Response Team, and we are all volunteers with the city. I was privileged to be called out for the freeway fires. We volunteer all of our time. We're very dedicated, take it very seriously, the responsibility, and we're very willing to help. And we would appreciate it if you would consider this issue very seriously. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council members, my name is Bob Carlson. I'm a resident of Newport Beach. I've been involved with the emergency response, working in the police department for over 20 years. I have been in support of many of the drills, both countywide and citywide, involving the EOC in the box up at City Hall. And I have seen directly in working with the dispatchers and with the police department the early inefficiencies with regards to trying to get the EOC up and operational. And I really would like you to very seriously consider the necessity to get a permanent operation in place like the other cities around us so that we can be much more effective, all of us volunteers, PD and fire department, in the face of a real emergency. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
It's almost 5 o'clock. My name is Richard Eimers. I'm a resident in Newport Beach. 25 years of business continuity, disaster recovery for aerospace. What I've seen through many incidences in my company and in the world is the communications is the most important part. Working with people. And if the people are 2 miles away, we've got a problem, especially if the communications fail. So all of what you've heard about of putting people near people in the EOC, this is very important with the recovery and success of the recovery when you're dealing with, we got property, but we got to look at the people too. And with the first responders, they need to have instant directions from people like yourselves in a disaster. So with the EOC sitting right underneath all the decision makers, it will be very important. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Rather than having any more people get up, why don't all of those that are in favor of what all the other speakers said raise their hands, and then the council can discuss this. Okay, I think we got the message. Now, does anyone feel compelled to come up and speak? Okay, seeing no one, I'll bring it back up to the council here. Okay, any comments?
Well, I think this probably is worth some additional discussion, and as you know, I've been on this side of the issue for some time. I think we do need to bring this back to an appropriate forum for some additional consideration, and whether we do that at a formal council study session or perhaps at an openly a public open meeting of the building committee, I could be convinced to go either way on that. But to provide an additional forum for the public to present a case on it.
Okay, well, I would just make the comment that given the two choices, I would prefer to see it happen at the building committee, have an open meeting of the building committee, because I think we're a little bit more nimble group, let's say, in terms of scheduling meetings and getting on this quickly, since we are in some critical design stages on the City Hall project.
Just, would it be as well publicized, well noticed? That's my only concern about a meeting of a committee as opposed to a study session.
Well, everyone knows that council meetings are on a regular basis, whereas the building committee would just have to get a notice out on it.
What is the rationale for it to be at the police department?
Yeah, we'll let that staff
Sorry, what
answer
was
that
that
one.
question?
What's the rationale for it to be, this EOC to be at the police department?
The EOC could be anywhere. I don't think there is one particular perfect location. I think it started out in the police department because they had a room that was the largest room in any city facility that could turn into an EOC. I mean, there are some arguments for it being at City Hall. There's some arguments, I think, for it being in the police facility. So, if you look at the time that there are going to be employees at City Hall, it comes out to less than 25% of the week that employees are going to be at City Hall. So your chances of a disaster happening when employees are at City Hall, is about 1 in 4. So chances are wherever the EOC is located, 3 chances in 4 that people are going to need to be coming back to a location from non-working hours.
Isn't the issue more that it's a dedicated facility as opposed to exactly where it's at?
Well, I've heard that, and I've heard some people say that, we need an EOC, and what I heard them say, what I heard some of them say is that it needs to be a dedicated EOC, which to me means it is set up as an EOC 24/7, and there aren't other uses there, anytime. That if you're talking about responding and an EOC is already set up and you don't have to unlock anything, you don't have to get out the boxes, you don't have to set up the communications, that it's all there ready for people to come behind a desk or in chairs and sit down and go to work, as opposed to if it is a mixed-use facility, so to speak, well, then you have a lot of cabinets and you have to accommodate a number of other uses and public uses.
Councilman Curry.
I actually support Councilmember Hinn's request that we take this maybe to the building committee. I think that was a good idea. And have the building committee hold a session on this to sort of talk through the issues. And as I've shared with some of the community activists, I have some skepticism about putting it at City Hall related to both seismic issues and the cost of construction, also redundancy in terms of communications. But I think a lot of good issues have been raised, and they deserve to be vetted. And I think it would be helpful for the building committee to sort of get all this out on the table and let people know all the facts about the buildings both ways. It may be difficult for us, even if we were at City Hall, to have it be a fully dedicated facility, given the need of the space requirements that we have at City Hall. So that needs to be sort of vetted also in the community. And so I think that would be a good use of time by the committee.
Councilman Rosansky?
Yes, I'll also support that. Initially I was in favor of the plan to put it at the PD, but in reflection, seeing who's actually going to be operating the EOC and, the resources that they'll need, I tend to think that we need to, I guess I never really felt that we had an adequate discussion of it from the professionals like the fire department, our organizer. I think Katie's our heads up our emergency response. So I guess I'd like to get a little bit more input before we make a final decision that, we move forward with either plan. So, and I would support the building committee as the venue for that.
Can the building committee provide the rest of the council with some minutes or a report in terms of what was discussed?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I was just going to suggest the same thing and would further suggest that the meeting of the building committee be well noticed and probably held in this room so that it can accommodate however big a crowd it is to talk about it. And then I too would appreciate a report from the building committee about the results of that discussion. I guess I'm hoping that the discussion that there can be a little bit of effort ahead of time to at least identify rough alternatives to be considered, so would ask staff to do that.
Yeah, and I would suggest also that when staff comes back that they discuss some of these alternatives here as far as just having a EOC that no one's going to touch unless you need to open an emergency, or some type of an EOC where at least there may be some type of a joint use so that we're not just basically building a $3 or $4 million EOC and have no other avenues of utilizing that space and the resources that might be there. So,
Councilman Webb, did you have anything to add? Nope. Okay. All right. I think we got the general sense of the council's direction, and we'll schedule a building committee meeting as soon as possible and advertise it as widely as possible. Okay. Seeing no further public comments, and we're adjourned to closed session.